Yeah, she does. I'll ping her. You did add her so she can see all the other channels, right?
Can do it if it's okay.
All right, Tatanik, the floor is yours.
Hello everyone, happy Friday. So for Friday stand up, let's talk about what we have accomplished this week. And if we have any blockers, now is one of the best times to share. And I will start with the right top corner with Florian being the first one.
Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Um, okay, so since Wednesday, I've finished implementing like fully end-to-end the international traits. So what I added from before is that we can now there's now a drop down to select the specific region of the country you're considering. And we have a lot of the regions, so it's pretty good. Um, so I talked to Joaquim earlier today, and we were also thinking about maybe like revamping in the front end because we have a bunch of traits, like actual traits from the data that we aren't showing and we're sort of discarding, but which are also useful. For example, like occupation. So we were going to talk to Sabot about this and see what he thinks before making any changes. Other than that, I'm going to be working on also the real world products to make sure it's just more robust and less sensitive to include brand more.
And price? And price?
Yeah, and price.
I see that we're getting a lot of like strange, not strange, I don't want to say strange. We're getting a lot of varied like price variables. Like sometimes it's dollars per unit, sometimes it's dollars per time, sometimes it's rates, sometimes it's percentages. So like the which is very nice to see. I imagine we're making things very hard for Tatevik, but it's very nice that we see like subscription revenues and all these different business model types now show up in the product. So very good job, Florian.
Yeah, we're trying to standardize like all the terminology in the numerical levels as much as possible.
Right.
But it does slip through the cracks sometimes, unfortunately.
I mean, as long as you have like unit, as long as you have like scalar and unit, you don't really have to standardize because all the math is done on scalars and units.
Right, yeah, that's exactly what we're trying to get it in the form of.
Nice, beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you, Florian, especially for the real life products part. Let's go to Eric next.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Hi. So I've started sending out multiple emails, and then doing the follow up. We've pivoted now to retail, and so I'm uncovering retail intelligence, anything that's sort of going to get us closer to reaching out to our target. We're moving forward as best we can with Saudi Airlines. I have no blockers, and that's it.
Let's go to Avi next.
My two big initiatives are turning around diligence items for the different folks in diligence. We have about $4 million of investors in diligence right now. Thank you, Sarah, for all of the help there. I know that's not easy, kind of putting all of that data in one place, but Sarah's done a really good job of updating the data room. Every time we get a diligence request, she like adds to the data room, so it's like one less piece of work we have to do next time. So that's been really nice. I've been working on kind of normalizing the interviews. I checked this morning, and we have 8 intern offers that we want to extend. Maybe half will accept, and then we have another like 3 or 4 offers that we want to extend out for the scientific advisory committee and the advisory committee. I don't want to do that without Subodh, so I want to wait until he gets back so he can meet with those folks. But thank you, Tatevik and Mahdi, for all the interviews you've been doing. I know that's been just a ton of work. There are also internal offers that we need to get out. We sent out offers like a week or 2 ago from the interns from last summer, or from last session. We are a little bit delayed on that because our paralegal, Alice, went to law school. So we now have to go find another paralegal or pay a partner to do it, or do it ourselves. I don't know. I need to figure out what to do there. Sarah, do you want to act as a paralegal? Well, whatever. Now's not the time to. But I'm a little bit blocked on getting a paralegal. So I apologize for the delay there, but we are getting those done. Over the last 2 days, we had 7 different investor meetings. Between kind of first session, second session, we have I think 3 or 4 more today. It's funny, we're getting to the point where like people are getting through diligence, and so the folks that have the worst valuations and the worst terms are like really aggressive about getting us to sign. And so that like dynamic is really kind of transparent. So I guess in some ways the market works. The biggest things during diligence are going to be customer interviews and an engineering roadmap, kind of what are we going to be building over the next 6 months. And then, do we have customers that really like, use the product every day and really love the product? So I think both of those things, so that's something that I think we're going to be working on. Those are the blockers to closing right now. So we have to put those lists together. And I've been trying out a new narrative, which has been working for the investor meetings. We say that our objective is to bring clarity to human decision making, and people seem to respond to that quite well. The clarity is the causality. The decision making is the difference between, a survey and an experiment. But saying we're bringing clarity to decision making is better than saying we're building causal models for discrete choices, right? It's a little bit of the same message, different language. What?
Also, the chopped off head story you shared. You should tell the group. You should tell the group.
I do like that story. Do you guys want to hear that story? Yeah. All right. So I start with saying that my favorite quote is from Lavoisier. It says, "We cannot improve what we first do not measure." And that was like his whole thing, right? We have to measure everything. And like a good, French Enlightenment scientist during the Revolution, he got his head chopped off. And he told his assistant, "I think people remain conscious even without a body. And to prove it, I'm going to blink as many times as I can." And so they chopped his head off, and they showed his head to the crowd, and his assistant was in the front row counting, 27 blinks in the front row. And so I kind of love this story. Like this guy to the very end was measuring, like he was counting. And I think kind of that's a little bit what we're doing, right? We are measuring the things that really matter most to people, the things that don't have markets, right? Like if if we want to understand how much people care about work in the home, domestic help, GDP doesn't measure that, right? But if you do measure it, 30% of GDP is housework, right? But without measuring it, we can't improve it. And the quality of people working in the home has suffered. If we think about leisure time, right? People don't really measure it. It's not included in GDP. If it was, it would be 80% of GDP. And so the things that people care most about are not things. They're social connection, mental health, the environment, life, liberty, happiness. None of these things have markets. None of these things have prices. The only way to understand how much people care about these things is to perform discrete choice experiments at scale. And unfortunately, that's been very expensive. And because of that, governments have not measured and not improved the things that make life worth living. And so that's kind of where we can come in. That's my head chopped off story. Thank you, Sarah. That's my update. Happy Friday. Let's go measure everything. Oh, also, I recommend everyone read this. Joe Stiglitz, he won the Nobel Prize, I think 2012. He's actually in New York. He's in Columbia. I'd like to reach out to him. He talks a lot about the measurement of externalities and how if we added up all the externalities in a human life, it would be an order of magnitude larger than GDP. That's all I got.
Let's move to Kurav next.
Yeah, so I updated the investor deck. So I think I have a nice 4-page summary of why Subconscious exists and how the subconscious experiments are different from what's there in the market now and the total market. So I have a couple of outstanding items. One is we have to agree on what is the percentages for the confidence levels we want to present. So I needed Subodh and Avi to agree. And I'm just working on just a little bit of in that describing the subconscious product, making clear that we are not the LLM, and there's a layer on top of the LLM that we sit on, which I had an idea yesterday how to do, should be visualized and clear. So I think it's moving along well. This is one blocker with Subodh we just sort out. And then after that, I'll move on to the competitive landscape, which is the other thing that looks very opaque in the existing slide.
The clarity you're bringing to some of our messaging is really helpful, Gaurav. Thank you very much.
Yeah, let's go to Simon next.
Hey everyone, happy Friday. So on my side, been continuing with the chat interface. I think I mentioned on Wednesday, and making good progress. We have screenshots for, maybe just a brief reminder, not sure how much people remember, but we're building this chat interface, prototyping in Discord so that people don't just see the experiment results in the web portal, but they get AI-generated actionable insights delivered to them, and they can ask follow-up questions. So making this, cool, magical experience that I think, Avi, Pablo, some of the guys on the team have been thinking about for a while. So making good progress there. We have all the screenshots captured through browser automation and fed into the LLMs, and it spits out, an output back to Discord. The output, I think, as Avi took a look and commented, isn't super impressive yet, but it's just because the prompts that we're using, it's just like placeholders. And so I guess the blocker here is, I know Pablo, and I think Avi, you mentioned someone else has tried this in the past. And so if there are already prompts that we prototyped, whether it's in ChatGPT, Claude, whatever, that has already done well, it'd be great to get a pointer to those so we can plug it in and, see how things go.
Yeah, Ambuj put together an effort, but his effort was a little different. He didn't look at the images of the output. He converted all of the AMCE graphs into sentences, causal sentences, where each AMCE was a causal sentence, subject, object, verb. and and then he fed all of those sentences into a language model. Um, but I think Mahdi or Hadi can show you where that code is, and it works. I think we just had trouble deploying it, but it more or less works.
Yeah, I remember on one of our earlier calls, like Pablo was screen sharing, like output that I don't know, Pablo, you're there, but screenshots fed into ChatGPT and it was like doing decently well. So, uh, is there anything available there, like Pablo, if you have ChatGPT histories or have tried this flow recently? Any pointers? We could also look at what Avi you just mentioned as well. Trying to transform it into statements, but yeah, would love to just get all the inputs and try all of them.
I created a list of the prompts that I use and for what reason across like the journey. That's in the PRD that I sent to you, but I'm happy to also include several ChatGPT like links of conversations. Um, I would have to dig in um, and find them, but I'm happy to include that in the doc for you if that's what you'd like. Yeah. I'm also happy to allocate my time and having a session and showing you that could also be very telling uh, because oftentimes it's kind of like based on what I learned from the experiment, right? I sometimes want to go deeper or I want to go wider in a domain, and the reasons can vary. And I think that's also a magical, component of this chat feature that we're trying to incorporate. So, um, yeah, just Simon, set the time.
Yeah, that sounds great. I forgot the prompts were in there, but we can definitely plug that in. Maybe what we can do is plug that in first, get it to run, then maybe Pablo, you can see the results, and then we can jump on that call together to just compare and contrast. Is it the same as what you've been seeing
Yeah,
elsewhere? Is it
I love that. That's a great idea.
okay? Yeah, I guess we can try to do that today, and then help. I don't know if this is too deep into stand up, but like, should we find a time for maybe next Monday or Tuesday or whenever you're free? Or should we coordinate offline?
Let's coordinate offline. Just message me, and we'll find time today.
Okay, sounds perfect. Amazing. I think yeah, that's it then. That's the blocker, and feels like I'm blocked. So thanks, guys.
Go to Sarah next.
Hello. This week we met with A16Z and a few other investors. I helped prepare for the VC meetings, making some notes. I helped onboard Laura on Tuesday. I applied to 3 accelerators: Sandhill, the M12 Massachusetts Challenge, and Capital Factory. Um, and those are my updates.
Uh, let's go to Hadi next.
Hello everyone, happy Friday. So this week, mostly working on concept testing. Like from Wednesday till now, having some bugs, uh, trying to fix it, and the experiments running through concept testing is failing. The description is not showing up in the experiments, trying to fix it, and the backend response. I think there is some issue with the data format that I am sending, and the backend feels is expecting a different one. So today I think it will be fixed, and like by Monday I can demo. And also I'm looking into experiments page for the issue with the timer, that new experiment when it's created, the UI does not update when it's finished. That's it.
Go to Laura next.
Hi everyone, happy Friday. I've been wrapping up my onboarding process with Sarah as well as Pablo, and I've been getting more familiar with the platform and the marketing team. I've also been going through all the demo and platform explanation videos in the drive to better understand how Subconscious works. And this morning I started working on some demo experience for Saudi Airlines. I'm currently putting together a demo report that outlines how the platform works and shows how we can use subconscious analytics to help address customer issues. I found that this is not only a way for me to like practically apply what subconscious does, but also help myself understand it better. So I've been trying to make that practical application, which has been very helpful. So those are my updates.
Can you demo that work to the group? Also, we have a lot of that stuff already. There's a lot of material. There's a lot of content that's been generated. Like, you know, a lot of use cases, a lot of demo videos, a lot of assets, a lot of decks. There's work with a group called Sage Partners, which was a set of they're like like Accenture and Capgemini and Bain people. They built some good marketing materials for us. Try not to reinvent the wheel with that work.
I think
Um,
is I think she's just learning to like use the platform more so. I was Pablo was saying like learn how to use a platform. So I was basically saying like practice with this just for her own practice more so. Like I was telling her that we have a client that we're talking to Saudi. So thinking about how you would like provide value to a company and then later obviously you could apply that to marketing, but it's more like a practice exercise just to clarify.
right. Okay. Yeah. Because asking someone who's been here a week to build marketing materials is terrifying. Yeah. Okay. Um, and then Laura, I asked you to go through some of the. We have like 9 hours of podcast footage and like different marketing footage that we've done over the last kind of 6 months. Have you been able to review that and create kind of 15 and 30-second clips? 3 or 4 per episode, so we can start to promote that.
Yeah, I've been like reviewing all of the videos yesterday, but I haven't gotten started like actually making the short clips yet because I thought I was only supposed to like watch them, but I can get onto that today.
Okay, let's go through your tasks in GitHub, and then we can
Okay.
I can show you how we prioritize tasks and all that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move to Joaquin next.
Hello, everyone. So the past 2 days, I've been actually learning more about the product, and I've had already had a conversation with Subodh about experiment design. I talked with Tatevik on her side of things, and also today with Florian on the attributes and levels. And these conversations were so helpful, like really. So thank you for that, because now I feel like I have a good grasp of the product, also of the issues. So there were a couple of things that came up, especially in conversation with Florian. So one of them that he referred to was that we're doing something that's a bit illogical in terms of generating the persona traits, because we have all of this international data, and of course the data that we have is heterogeneous, so different countries have different data, and we're essentially trying to find just the common ground of all of these and trying to map all of these to a common thing. So this restricts a lot the information that we have in the persona traits. So we were discussing that probably it makes much more sense that, depending on the country that you choose, then you'll have all of the demographic information from that country that we have to choose from. So that will really, expand the quality of the data that we have for personas. So that was just one example. I need to speak to continue the conversation with Subodh. Yeah, I'm also writing. Avi had asked me to write kind of like 100-day plan for, what
Wait,
I was. Yeah.
before you change topics, can you describe again what doesn't make sense?
So we have a lot of international data, and all of this data is census data, right? So the countries are not coordinating which kind of data they acquire, right? And in which format they're going to store it. So what I think we should do is, okay, we have all of this data in like essentially dictionaries, right? With keys and values. So let's say educational level and age and profession, whatever. So before we generate the persona attributes, before we give the choice of the persona attributes, we have to choose the country. So then, based on the country, we should present the demographic information that we have that refers to that country. And what we're doing now is we're not using all of the demographic information that we have on each country. We're essentially taking all of the different demographic data, and we're just trying to map it to the common fields, which are quite restricted, which are just like age and gender and a few other things, because some of the countries have very little data. Like if you think about Bangladesh or countries that have acquired less data. So we're essentially doing extra work of like mapping all of the data of each country to a common framework, and then we're just presenting those traits, which will be just like gender, education, age. So just a few of them that are in common, that are common to all of the demographics data across the world. So what makes more sense is that because we already know which country the study is going to run in, we present the demographic information for that country, which is like very extensive sometimes, and it can be like quite detailed, instead of like trying to fit it into just like this common data framework. Did you understand?
Do we? Yeah, I understand. It sounds like a non-issue. I mean, do we have any customers that care? Will this?
I mean,
Will this improve clarity? Will this improve understanding of decision making? Will this improve speed? LTV,
I don't think it's a non-issue, Avi, because if you have personas with like just like very few traits that are not you just have like less quality data, less information. But if you can expand the information that you have and augment the diversity of personas that we have, we could, for example, do market segmentation where you're targeting to specific people, which we cannot do now because we can just segment like age and gender, but there's so many other variables that are important for the decisions that we're not taking into account.
Maybe.
What do you think, Florian?
I mean, I definitely agree. I think the most compelling thing is that we're throwing away one of the biggest sources that Atish found, which is like the industry that the person that was surveyed works in. So, I mean, we have also a bunch of these levels for the industry they work in, and it's very detailed. And I think that's especially important and would be important to consumers as well.
Maybe. Let's do this. Let's schedule a meeting. I'm worried that this international data is like, that the juice is kind of not really worth the squeeze, especially because we have like no international customers, no international revenue, no international investors. Like, I don't know that it matters all that much. And like, if I think about the things that our users are demanding, it's like it's not necessarily that. If we are going to work on international work, I'd like us to have a plan. It feels like we're kind of building things kind of real time. There's one document here which shows our customer flows. There's another document here that shows our customer flows. If we are going to change the observed sociodemographic information panel workflow, let's write a plan, propose a plan. Let's get like a cost benefit analysis, and then decide if we want to move forward. Like, I could see if you came to me and said, hey, look, we're trying to normalize all of our traits. In order to do that, we know that we can't normalize things ourselves. That would be silly. We're going to map everything through a vector and build effectively like our own version of, pine cone, but a pine cone for traits, which I'm happy to walk you through how to do. That would be okay. Like that's something scalable and extensible and valuable. But like doing this like ad hoc data set by data set sounds expensive, and I'm not clear what the benefit is.
I don't think it's expensive. I think it's more expensive to map all of the data into common ground because we already have the data. And I mean, from what Subodh told me, one thing that was coming up quite a lot was like customers wanted to target specific populations, not just like have whatever population we're giving them, right? And for that, you need data. So if we don't have enough information on the personas, how are you going to target to specific populations?
How much experience do you have, Joaquin, with vector databases?
Oh, I don't have experience with vector databases.
Vector databases are designed to solve this exact problem. So it is something to think about, right? We do have resources from Databricks that want to solve the normalization problem for us with their own vector databases. I don't know if we should build it ourselves or use Pinecone or use Databricks, but instead of like kind of working on it like ad hoc week to week, I'd like to like come up with a plan, everyone approve the plan, and then we execute the plan. Because right now it feels
Sure.
a little a little sketchy, and it's really like a core capability of ours. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, every 2 weeks we have a sprint planning session where we prioritize the engineering efforts. We had one this Monday. I was out of office this Monday. I don't know how the sprint planning went, but let's see if we can refocus during the sprint planning.
Yeah. All right. I mean, and then there's other tasks I need to work on, but it's kind of over time, so. But everything's on track, no blockers.
Go to Madi next.
Hello team, happy, I think Friday. Yeah, happy Friday. So yeah, so I have been less on interviewing for the last 2 days, but mostly on the AWS migration. So we had a session with Porter, and we were able to fix the Porter issue. Right now, uh, I'm 90% at deploying the front end to the dev cluster on Porter. There is some environment issues which I am working on, but it's much easier from the core AWS, and I am pretty optimistic that we can entirely move to AWS next end of next week.
Do we,
At most, to be like on the safe side.
Monty? That's very impressive. Do we need Porter and Duplo Cloud?
No, we need one of them. So if we can deploy everything on Porter, which I tested when I see the docs, the explore it. So it has Redis, it has like Celery. So it is a simpler interface to AWS, which removes the need to deploy.
So should we not engage Duplo Cloud?
Um, I so uh so this is my idea that uh we will not need Duplo if we get this porter up and running, which I'm pretty optimistic on this.
Okay.
So let's wait a few days
I
to
already
make sure everything works.
I already engaged them. I engaged them on Wednesday. I mean, they haven't done anything. We haven't done a kickoff. They haven't assigned any resources. Like we can probably still void the contract, but like, yeah. Okay, we'll talk about it offline. Let me know how I can help. What I can
We
do to
need
support you.
yeah, we need a few, not a few days, maybe Monday. So I deployed the WebCamp and Rehoboam, and then if everything goes well, then we do not need duplicate cloud. So then we once we have the dev environment set up it fully, then we replicate it to staging and production. Then we move our DNS to Porter, and then we should be fine.
Okay, I'll talk to Duplo Cloud today. Well, let me.
Maybe not. Can we like have maybe have like? Can you give me like 1 or 2 days so I deploy Rehoboam and WebCamp also and see things go well?
Yes, sir. We'll do.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks.
And let's go to Mia next.
Hi everybody. This week, we had another like small little lift of like 47 new followers on LinkedIn on Tuesday, which is good. So we're still having like steady growth on LinkedIn. 3 posts are went out this week. The third one is scheduled for today. Working on finishing up a blog post, and also did a report on the past 3 months of like what was successful and like what wasn't, and what we can like keep doing to keep growing like our engagement on LinkedIn from like our numbers and everything. Yeah, that's.
Can
I
you
can
give us a quick summary?
Yeah, I have it open right here.
Or
So-
maybe a demo.
Yeah, it's kind of wordy, but I'll just demo it really quickly. See it? Okay. So this is from 3 months from whenever like started posting in February to this week.
And most of it just shows like this is kind of like the total of like all of our engagements, and it also just kind of shows like I think this is just a total of like honestly everything from the past 3 months. But this is all over here, the top 3 posts perform the best. And what all the results showed is like short clips and like thought leadership posts. So like actually like putting the platform into like use and like showcasing like results gets like a lot of good engagement, and also like short clips. So like things that we've done for like the podcast, and also like updates, like our platform update that we posted back in like March 10th has done like the best. It got like 620 impressions. There's a lot of engagement rate with it. And then it was like a thought leadership post, which was like a Nintendo Switch to like pricing strategy, and like just like a brief analysis of like what they could have done better with their release. And then the third one was actually talking about digital twins, which was I think the video was just explaining what digital twins were. Um, so I think what I've kind of been learning from it is just whenever you are like teaching people something that you don't really know about and like they're learning something new, that seems to be most effective on our LinkedIn page specifically and gets the most engagement and likes. Um, and it also seems to show up more on other people's pages or like different places like LinkedIn with under I don't know if it's other than like the hashtags or like their like explore page, but that's kind of like what I gathered in the past 3 months. And then there's also like it goes a little bit deeper into some of the insights with like examples into like the post specifically, our follower gains, like why we got the certain boost that we did in May, um, specific like demographic insights of like our followers, because that could help whenever we are making more posts. And then there's also like recommendations on how we can like keep doing what we've been.
What's your number one recommendation? Increase video content. All right, sweet.
Yeah.
Laura, you see that? Laura?
Yeah.
1 and 2. Okay, nice.
Yeah, and then so that's kind of what I've been working on this week.
Nice
Then
work,
I
man.
think it's shared with everybody. It's also in our growth PRD too, so I think anybody that has that folder has access to it as well. That's all from me.
Thank you. That was very informative. Let's go to Michelle next.
Hey everyone, I am reviewing marketing and sales documentation right now, and I have a big focus on digging into the ICP pain points and to really help to develop messaging and make it more appealing to marketers for marketing and sales presentations. So would love to collaborate with a few of you on that. And then I'm also exploring the use cases for retailers. I've got a connection with a couple of people that have a lot of connections in that industry, so I really would love to collaborate with all of y'all about that. In particular, Eric, we might want to connect and talk about that since you're reaching out to that particular area. And then one idea that I had, like a blocker, is I think it would be helpful to do experiments on these particular like retail use cases. And so if there's anybody that has some extra time or is learning and would like to practice on some use cases, I have some ideas for you. So reach out to me and I'll give you some things to practice with. And that's really it for now.
Pablo?
Good morning. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, this week had a few sessions with Elliot Wortham with BaronTX.com. It's a design agency, strategy agency. They are finishing up their trial program. So want to kind of follow up with them. We also have another one, another design agency that's coming in the pipeline. They should be starting another 2-week trial program next week. I have had a demo yesterday with John Gusev. He owns a consultancy. He's actually a behavioral scientist. This one from Canada, focusing on a partnership opportunity. He's going to be doing a trial program in the next coming weeks. He wants to connect me with his partner. And he has a few interesting clients like Temu. We were talking about an interesting kind of like behavioral interaction audit that they did for that program. So that was really interesting. So I got him really unlocked there. I think that's a real live opportunity. Later on today, we have a follow-up meeting and demo with Resonate, potential opportunity to do kind of like an enterprise platform integration with them. More details to come. And I just got a formal introduction from Vanguard VC to Sony VC. And so I will be working that, adding that to Finta, and of course adding Avi, since he's the focal point of those conversations. So
And I'll go next. So, the beginning of this week, I was working with Subot in incorporated latent variable in our analysis. So, we had a very like rough code. Lots of stuff was hard coded. Some stuff wasn't working. So by the end of the day, I want to have a code that's working like top to bottom, with like latent class variables, so we can actually compare these results. For example, the clustering, compare how it works. If I was using like the old method versus if I incorporate the latent class variable and like collect two groups based on that. That's what I want to finish like before Subot returns, so we can just continue on the rest of the analysis. And yeah, a few interviews so far, and some more added for next week. So I know I said it, I will have a second candidate by today, but there are like a few more people I want to go over.
Are you finding the latent variables valuable?
And I can show like a quick 2-minute demo why.
Amazing. Amazing.
Sorry, what did you say, Tatevik?
I was saying I can like with latent variables, I can give like a 2-minute demo and show like why I find them valuable. Before demos, have I accidentally skipped anyone? Okay. I can start the demos with my own, so let me share the screen. Let me know when it's visible.
A little tough to read, but it's visible.
Yeah, just ignore this particular experiment. I was just going to say that this is an old experiment, and we have a feature importance per mindset, right? And mindsets are calculated based on cluster, based on my old methodology. But when I look into this data, there isn't like big distinctions between preferences. For example, environmental impact, there's like they like intersect each other, or like text and texture, there is a difference, but there isn't like a lot. So these mindsets are like two groups, and they are created based on only feature preferences. So here is like a new experiment with latent variable. Here I have two groups, you see, class 1 and class 2. So for now I only have the data, not the visualizations. But you see, when I included the latent variable in the analysis, you see the differences here in those numbers.
Which ones are the latent variables?
The latent variables are included in this
Three,
analysis.
4, and 5?
No. These are my features, right?
Yeah.
So this graph shows how different these two groups, how important each feature is for them, right?
Right.
So these groups are created only using clustering. So here,
Clustering on the features.
yeah.
On the feature choices. Okay.
And here, these class 1 and class 2, they are used based on, let's say, I won't say clustering, based on a latent class function that included preferences, which is the same as my old methodology, plus the latent variable. And what's important is here, you see the difference between the two numbers. For example, this group, it doesn't care about this. It doesn't care about brand, consumer, staff, energy, and is, for example, when it comes to price, it gives it 0.62 importance. And you see, class 2 only has 0.11 importance. So this kind of difference in preference, I wasn't able like to see previously.
I see.
One question.
Uh-huh.
So here, class 1 and class 2, they're the latent classes of the mathematical model, is it?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess the fair comparison would be to use the latent classes of the mathematical model without latent variables and without the hidden variables and with the hidden variables, right?
Yeah. Like if I ran like the same experiment like on like
Yeah, because
yeah.
it seems to me that you're checking two different things, right? So you have two classes that are of a different kind
Right.
in the two to compare, right?
Yeah. As I said, those are like two different experiments, but what I mean is even if I run this new data on my like old methodology, like I won't see like this kind of difference in numbers. That's what
Okay,
I'm saying.
okay.
So this is coming from the latent variable. Like it's not because this is a like a different type of data.
Yeah. It's just that I think like what's confusing here, and it's our fault kind of, is that there's latent variables which are kind of like the hidden traits that I was generating, right? And then there's the latent variables of the class model, right? Of the mathematical model. Like there's the latent classes of the model, right? Those are two different things, right? So here the clustering is on the latent classes of the model, but using the latent variables, like the hidden traits, right? I mean, we can talk later.
Yeah.
This is just like my doubts.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Tati. You can talk with
So
Sybil.
yeah, basically like that's what I have for now. If anyone has go ahead.
Can we cluster on the latent traits? I don't know if that would be informative or not.
Yes, that's a good idea, I think, Avi. That could also be an option.
But it's weird to connect. Like, we can cluster on demographics, right? Which we choose not to do. We can cluster on latent variables, and we can cluster on the product attributes. And in the materials that Gaurav is putting together, his claim is that, like, 15% of the variance comes, or whatever, 10% of the variance comes from the demographics, some small percent of variance, 15, 20, 25% of variance comes from the product attributes, and then like 30 to 50% of variance comes from the hidden traits. That would assume that all of those traits are included in the model. When we include, here's maybe said another way, Tatavik, when we include latent traits, does the R squared of the model go up? Because one thing I've noticed is, like, in V2, the R squared, and I don't want to say in V2, but in dev, the R squared is really low. I want to say it's like 20 points lower consistently than in production for the same experiment. That being said, like, if we have more attributes, maybe the R squared is naturally, lower. Like, we're not normalizing for the number of variables in the model. We also have a much longer prompt, which probably reduces the R squared. R squared is also not the best measure of goodness, right? Does this improve? Like, if we go back to the human baseline, does including the hidden variables improve the Manhattan distance for the human baselines? It's a lot of questions.
I was just going to say, with the work I'm doing with Subot, we are just so, like, for this top, when we calculate like AMC and everything, we haven't touched this part yet. We only used the latent variables when we start like grouping people. So it starts with mindsets top. So this was 2 tops for now, I'm assuming.
Right. Okay. There's a lot to investigate.
But Avi, you said that the R squared of what's in prod is 20 points higher than the one in dev?
Anecdotally, I haven't done like an assessment, but yeah.
Okay, we should take a look at that. Like, doesn't make much sense, right?
I don't know if it's because of the latent variables. I don't know.
I mean, the latent variables, when did you run experiments?
I run experiments every day. I mean, it would be nice to have like a dashboard in weights and biases that show this. Like, I don't think we're using the weights and biases to its full capacity. Like, we should have like R squared, Manhattan distance, number of traits, speed of execution. Like, all of our like measures of goodness should be in a weights and biases dashboard so that we can measure if features are, making our system better or worse. And I think the golden set is the human baseline replications. Which would be the Manhattan distance. But we cannot improve what we do not first measure. Very nice work, Tatavik. Very nice work. I mean, we're getting to the point where, if we look at the McFadden paper, I'll put the link here. We're getting to the point where at the top of page 5, we can start to simulate figure 2 with a structural causal model with an SCM. I'm not saying we want to build one of those because then it's going to get really hairy, but our data generation process is effectively in SCM. Best practice is in SCM. We may want to start considering modeling SCMs. Nice work. Nice work. Thank you, Joaquim, for generating that data. Thank you, Tatvik, for helping analyze that data. Thank you, Joaquim, for asking really, really good questions in the general chat and sparking such good conversation. I suggest everyone go into general, read Joaquim's message, and everyone include your thoughts. It's a very, very good thing for us to consider. Some very, strong ideas there for building our roadmap.
Does anyone have any demos? Does anyone have any blockers, any issues? Anything unclear with the tasks? Anything? If anyone doesn't have any final thoughts, I think this concludes our stand-up.
Thank you, Tatvik.
Thank you.
Happy Friday.